Now, before you rush into the comments to tell me how much you either love Elon Musk or can't stand him, let me save you the effort. This video isn't really about Elon. It's about something much bigger for you, and it's about escaping the 9 to 5. Most people spend 40 years working for someone else, collecting paychecks, hoping that somehow they'll have enough money to stop working before their body decides it's had enough and gives you the middle finger and checks out for good. That's not a retirement plan. That's a gamble. And if you've watched this channel before, you already know I believe the traditional work model is slowly falling apart. Wages just aren't keeping pace with the cost of living, and they haven't for a very long time. Companies expect more while offering less. Loyalty has become a one-way street, and retirement keeps getting pushed further and further into the background. So if you want to escape earlier, you need assets, not just income. Assets. That's where companies like Tesla and SpaceX enter the conversation. Not because Elon Musk tweets something outrageous today, not because he's become some larger-than-life celebrity, but because businesses create value. And if you own part of a business, you can benefit from the value it creates. That's the part most people miss. We've somehow turned investing into a popularity contest. People ask whether they like the CEO, whether you agree with the founders politically, whether they approve of someone's personality. None of that changes whether the company sells products the world wants. If you're trying to retire earlier, you have to learn to separate the personalities from the business. Think about it. When you buy toothpaste, do you investigate the CEO? No. When you buy groceries, do you demand to know the political opinions of the person who runs the supermarket? Probably not. So why do we do that for Elon? Because the system doesn't want you to see the value of the companies. Because if you did, you'd buy some stock and leave the system earlier than they want you to. Look, you buy products because they solve a problem, right? Investing should work much the same way. Look at the business. Look at the products. Look at the demand. Look at the future and not the headlines. Because headlines are designed to sell advertisements. Businesses are designed to make money. Now, before we go any further, I need to say something very important. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video should be considered financial advice. Every person's financial situation is different. Do your own research, make your own investment decisions, and if you're not experienced with investing, speak with a qualified financial professional before putting your money into anything, including the stock market. With that out of the way, let's talk about Tesla. Forget the stock price for a minute. Forget social media, forget the drama. What does Tesla actually do? Most people answer, they make electric cars. Well, it's true, but it's also incomplete. Tesla is an energy company. It's a battery company. It's a software company. It's an artificial intelligence company. It's a robotics company. It's an autonomous driving company. It's a manufacturing company. Every one of those industries is expected to continue growing over the coming decades. Now, whether Tesla dominates every one of them is impossible to know. But they're participating in some of the biggest technological shifts of our lifetime. Now let's look at SpaceX for a second. And here's the funny thing. Most people don't even realize how much modern life depends on space. GPS, weather forecasting, communications, military operations, global internet, Earth observation, disaster monitoring, satellite internet navigation, financial systems. Space isn't just rockets anymore. It's infrastructure. And SpaceX has fundamentally changed the economics of getting into orbit. Reusable rockets sounded impossible 20 years ago. Today, they're landing themselves. That's no longer science fiction, that's just a Tuesday. The Starlink satellite network already provides internet service across huge parts of the world where traditional infrastructure simply doesn't exist or can exist. Launches that once cost governments hundreds of millions of dollars have become dramatically cheaper. Again, you don't have to like Elon Musk. You don't even have to know who he is. You just have to ask yourself one question. Will humanity need more access to space over the next 30 years or less? That's a business question, not an emotional question. Here's another pattern I've noticed after working in the IT industry for decades. People get distracted by personalities because evaluating businesses is much harder. It's easier to argue on social media than it is to read a financial report. It's easier to debate someone's latest interview than it is to understand the market trends. The market doesn't reward outrage. It rewards value creation. Now here's where things get really interesting. SpaceX just went public, and you can now invest in an actual space exploration company. Never before in history was anyone other than the governments able to do that. Cool, right? Put that together with Tesla, and you are on the leading edge of technology and poised to retire early without lifting a single finger. Just invest and watch the show. Passive income in a nutshell. That's what this is. Again, not advice, just the facts. But the broader lesson isn't by SpaceX or by Tesla though. The lesson is this. Find companies building things the world is going to need 5, 10, 20 years, or even 30 years from now. And let time do most of the heavy lifting for you. That's something the internet rarely talks about anymore. Everyone wants passive income that starts next Tuesday. Nobody wants passive income that quietly compounds over a decade. Because 10 years isn't exciting, but retirement is. One of the biggest scams on the internet is the idea that passive income means doing almost nothing and collecting piles of cash every month. You've all seen the videos. Start this AI business. Start this dropshipping store. Start a print-on-demand empire. Make 6 figures while you sleep. Maybe. For somebody, I'm sure. But for every person showing off their success, there are thousands who quietly spent money on courses and software, subscriptions and advertising, websites and coaching programs that never paid for themselves. Investing is different. It's boring, and boring is underrated. You're buying ownership in businesses, and those businesses go to work every day whether you do or not. Engineers build products, sales teams find customers, factories manufacture goods, executives make strategic decisions, and employees solve problems. Meanwhile, you're simply an owner. That's about as passive income can get. Of course, markets go down too. Nothing goes up forever. There'll be recessions, corrections, bear markets. That's when the overall market trends downward. There's going to be panic, fear. There's going to be people predicting the end of capitalism every few years. If you've been alive long enough, you've probably seen this movie several times. The important thing is having a long-term perspective. Because if your retirement horizon is 10 years away, what happens next Tuesday probably isn't nearly as important as what happens over the next decade. That's a completely different mindset. And here's another thing that rarely gets mentioned. You don't have to become rich overnight. Imagine consistently investing over many years while continuing to earn your salary. You're slowly replacing dependence on your paycheck with ownership of a productive asset. One day your investments may earn you more than your annual raise. Eventually, they may earn you more than your bonuses. And eventually, if things go really well and you stay disciplined, they may contribute meaningfully to your retirement. That's freedom growing quietly in the background. This channel isn't about convincing anyone to become a stock market guru. It's about questioning assumptions. The biggest assumption most of us were taught is that employment is the only path to security. I believed that for decades. Go to work, be reliable, work hard, retire. Simple, right? Except it isn't. Companies restructure. Jobs disappear. Technology changes. Entire industries evolve. like the automotive industry, for instance. Your paycheck depends on someone else's decisions. Assets shift some of the control back towards you. Will investing alone get everyone out of the 9 to 5? Probably not. For some people, it might become a major part of the solution though. For others, it will simply strengthen an already healthy retirement plan. Either way, it's just another tool. And if your toolbox currently contains only a paycheck, it's time to add a few more tools. Over the coming videos, we're going to explore other ways of escaping wage slavery. Some involve building digital assets, some involve creating income streams outside the traditional employment, some involve changing how you think about work entirely. None of them promise overnight riches. Because I'm far more interested in realistic freedom than fantasy lifestyles. The goal isn't to become the next billionaire. The goal is to reach the point where you no longer need permission to live your own life. If companies like Tesla and SpaceX continue to grow alongside the technologies they're building, investors who participate thoughtfully could benefit over the long term. Not because Elon Musk is a hero, not because he's a villain, but because businesses that solve meaningful problems tend to create value. And owning a piece of that value may help shorten the amount of time you spend trading your life for a paycheck. If that's possible, then maybe the most controversial part of this video isn't Elon Musk at all. Maybe it's the idea that your retirement doesn't have to depend entirely on your employer. And once you realize that, it's very difficult to unsee it. As always, this has been Over 40 with Duff. If you enjoyed today's video, please like, follow, and share. Better yet, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. So until next time, keep asking yourself, if not now, when?